What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're heading out on an early morning walk through the streets of London, starting off around Chinatown before finishing up in Leicester Square. So make sure you stick around for that. We're going to be hitting a few of my favourite places around the city, finding a few hidden gems, and I'll talk you through some of my thought processes as I shoot. So if you're into street photography or love exploring cities through the lens, stick around, there's hopefully some great stuff to come. So for today, we're starting our walk off around Chinatown. It's one of those places that's usually packed with fantastic opportunities and rarely ever fails to disappoint. Today, it was going to be a little bit different as it was quite early in the morning, so I'm pretty pumped to see what it's like that time of day. For today's video, I'm going to be shooting with the Fujifilm X-S10 paired with the Fujifilm X-C35mm f2. Walking around, I was actually quite surprised about how quiet it actually was. Like, I was expecting it to be quiet, but I wasn't expecting it to be this quiet. But it was a refreshing change from the last time I was here because it was absolutely packed out before. But being extremely quiet does sometimes make it a little bit more challenging. And to be honest, I do love a good challenge when I'm out with my camera. It's one of those things that completely changes the way that you look at a scene. Especially when you may be starting to look more at smaller details or looking for more interesting framing opportunities than usual shots of subjects. One way that I love to get a different feeling from my shots is by getting low to the ground, pointing the camera up slightly, and getting layers from different subjects close to the camera, some far away, and using buildings to add depth to the scene. This is one of those iconic locations that I think everyone comes to, but it's such a great spot. Recently, I've specifically been liking trying to frame subjects in sequences in my shots. Sometimes it's a little bit more challenging, and often it's just a little potluck. But if there's ever a better time to believe in the law of attraction, things like this have to be it. I absolutely love this one with the two bikes and the guy walking in the middle, because they all take up their own real estate, because you're still able to read parts of the text in the background. And I find it one of those images that the longer you look at it, the more you actually pick out of it. Where are your favourite places in London to shoot? Let me know in the comments below. I definitely worked this scene a little longer than I normally would have, especially from this corner, but I was just really enjoying the variety of shots that I was getting, so I didn't want to move on. I was trying some low to the ground, some shooting a little bit higher, some portraits, some landscape, just trying to see what subjects came into frame, what opportunities were about, and just trying to make the most of this location. Like I mentioned before, a little later in this video we'll be making our way towards Leicester Square. Heading back round to explore a little more of Chinatown, I saw these guys unloading some crates and they matched the lanterns, but because they were moving quite quickly, I tried to pop off a few quick shots trying to get low, but I'm not sure how I feel about these. I love the colour consistency with the reds and the yellows, but overall I think I was possibly a little bit short to get a good shot of these. It's not always about a banger, it's Sometimes it's more about the getting out with your camera, going and shoot, and just putting in those reps. Walking past this window here, I absolutely love the cherry blossom in the window, along with the colours and pops of red surrounding. Like I mentioned earlier, one thing that I love when it's quiet is experimenting a little bit more with weird framing or focusing on the smaller details of a scene, like the raindrops on glass if it's raining, dirt maybe, any smudges, any smears, like this phone box for example. The graffiti, the smash window, the smear, the dirt, the stickers all caught my attention. But I noticed there was a little life popping through the window, and it was giving a different window into the world around. So I wanted to try and find a way that I could use a phone box in a few different interesting ways to create layers and add depth to frame my subjects in the scene. One shot I really liked was this one because the phone box itself actually turned the subject into an anonymous character. The scene with the way that the frame actually cut through the subject's head, kind of hiding their identity, making them slightly more anonymous in the scene. And in my opinion, it allows the viewer to ask more questions about the image. Walking past here, I absolutely love the way that this guy's uniform with the blues and the yellows was matching the two shops that were stood outside, with the blue and the yellow shops being next to one another. So I had to get a quick snap of this. And as I'm out and about walking, that is something that I am actively looking for. Sometimes it obviously doesn't pan out because the chances of it happening can be quite rare, but yeah, it's something that I definitely look out for as I'm walking about, trying to find matching colours with the surroundings and maybe people that are walking through the scene, and just trying to work those into kind of creating this harmonious image through the use of those colours. So now I'm just making my way around towards Leicester Square just to see what's happening around there. I've been trying to shoot a lot more from the hip lately, trying a few different things, and this one specifically, I'd got my camera really quite low down, but shooting at f2, I wasn't quite sure where my autofocus point was, so when I saw them walking towards me, I just had to kind of give it a go and see what happened. And in this instance, I think it really played off with getting those subjects in focus, but framing it in a way that was quite interesting still. A few weeks back, I posted a video in Manchester talking about abandoned bikes and bikes that have just been left in some interesting positions. And here we've got another prime example of that. And I almost wanted to frame it in a way that left quite a lot of negative space around the bike. But I also wanted to use the leading line to lead actually away from the bike in this case, to almost create like a feeling of mystery and wonder as to where the bike may travel or where it could be going. So I was using the bike as a starting point rather than the end point. When framing a subject, it can give the image a little bit of an extra punch combining those leading lines, but this one is in a complete contrast to the bike image I was mentioning before, and the difference it makes to an image is so apparent because in complete contrast to the bike image, here I was intentionally using those leading lines to draw the attention to the subject, and it's interesting to compare the two images to see how different they make you feel when you look at them and the difference that that can make to an image. So when you're framing, it's often worth trying to think about what story you want the image to tell. Like with the bike image, I wanted it to be framed in a way that was the start, and using those leading lines to lead the eye away from the bike, whereas in the other instance with the gentleman sat on the bench, for want of a better expression, I was using those lines to draw the attention to him rather than away from him. These final two shots are quite interesting because it's a perfect demonstration of how a split second can determine the way you capture a scene and the difference it can make to your images. And one of these showing an isolated scene of loneliness and giving that sense of space and freedom, maybe, if not loneliness, but the other, a complete polar opposite, showing a bit more chaos and urgency with the world kind of passing this guy by. So just taking that extra moment to take your shot sometimes can drastically change the way that an image comes across. That's it for today's early morning walk around London. I hope you've enjoyed tagging along. Drop a comment, hit a like if you've enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more street photography photo walks. Next time, we're heading back out